هجرنا الصلاة, that's something bad. ولكن الهجرة بتاع النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام something good. So the linguistic definition doesn't lean towards either positive or negative, but it just means to leave off. And the definition can be shown in one of the ayahs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Nisa, where he says in ayah number 97, إن الذين توفاهم الملائكة ظالمي أنفسهم قالوا فيما كنتم قالوا كنا مستضعفين في الأرض قالوا ألم تكن أرض الله واسعة فتهاجروا فيها. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says that the angels of death, when they're going to take people who wrong themselves and they're going to say, why did you wrong yourselves? And they're going to say, we were oppressed. كنا مستضعفين في الأرض. فالملائكة عرضوا عليهم وقالوا, they're going to say, ألم تكن أرض الله واسعة, like wasn't the earth expansive? So why didn't you make hijrah and leave off the bad land to go somewhere where you could practice the deen? So that's a linguistic definition. And عندنا بقى definition تبع الإسلام وتبع الهجرة بتاع النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام, اللي هو الهجرة اللي احنا نعرفه, اللي هو هجرة النبي مع أبو بكر للمدينة. And there's many things that we can discuss. I think the first thing that we should discuss is إمتى الهجرة. And it's not الهجرة, ممكن الدكتور يصحح لي لو غلط, but الهجرة did not begin في محرم. ولكن الهجرة began في 27 صفر. أول يوم في الهجرة أو أول ليلة في الهجرة 27 صفر. And then الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام وأبو بكر قعدوا 3 أيام في غار ثور, وبعد كده وصلوا المدينة على 12 ربيع أول. فالنعم احنا بنقول العام الهجري, ولكن الديت specifically هو 27 صفر بداية الهجرة, بعد كده 3 أيام في غار ثور, وبعد كده الرسول عليه الصلاة والسلام وصل المدينة في يوم 12 من ربيع الأول. And I think this is very important information that we should all be aware of, that the hijrah does not start in Muharram, in the beginning of the Islamic calendar, rather it starts in the 2nd month, which is the month of Safar. And the last thing I want to say, and I think everyone else here will cover the rest of the topics, is the significance of the hijrah, or the virtues of the hijrah, or فضل الهجرة. اللي هو ممكن and they're going to cover the lessons, but one of the most important lessons that we can learn from the hijrah is لو عايزين نعمل تغيير, like if we want to make any change in ourselves or in the community or any change as a whole, one of the most important things is that we have to alter our environment. Okay? We have to change the environment. And for the Rasul عليه الصلاة والسلام, هو جرب يدعو الناس في مكة وما استجابوش. They didn't respond. So what did he do? He made other attempts, راح للطائف, right? They didn't respond to, and finally he went and he decided to go to Yathrib أو المدينة. And it's the same thing in our own lives. If we see that we cannot make a change in ourselves, في حاجة عايزين نغيره في نفسنا, but we find that we can't do it, then we have to make sure that we change the environment. Because a lot of the times what happens is what? You have a bad habit. So you say, okay, من بكرة أنا بعمل A. And then you fail, you do it. And then you try to use the same exact approach and try to quit the bad habit using the same exact environment and the same exact circumstances. And obviously it's going to lead to the same exact result. But rather, you should change the environment, change the circumstances, change the people that you hang out with, change the places that you hang out with, change your digital environment, what's on your phone, what's on your laptop, and then try to make the attempt again, just like the Rasulullah, he made the hijrah from Mecca to Medina. In our lives, we're not going to make that sort of hijrah, but we will make the hijrah from bad to good. And in the hadith of Prophet ﷺ, that's the last thing I'll mention, is العبادة في الهرج كهجرة إليه. And this translates to worship during the time of widespread turmoil is like migrating towards me, is like making hijrah. So here the Prophet ﷺ is equating making a hijrah in Mecca to Medina Medina, which nobody here is going to make today because we don't need to do it, to worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala during a time that's very difficult to worship Him in, like maybe the time that we're in right now. And that's the hadith that I want to leave off with. Jazakumullah khair.
MashaAllah. Jazakallah khair, brother. One. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect you and all of us, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Brother Marawan, he mentioned that there are a lot of meanings of the hijrah. One of them, when you leave something bad to something good, or something good to something bad, هذه تسمى هجرة. تتطلب شيء معين. But when we want to speak about the migration of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it means that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu leave Mecca to al-Madinah al-Munawwara. But my question now, why that the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam choose Yathrib or al-Madinah al-Munawwara? I think there are a lot of places. Brother Abdالرحمن is five. Taif maybe, Habasha maybe. Why the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam choose this city? Is there any reason, Brother Abdالرحمن? Yes, كتير.
So, Jazakallah khair, Jazakallah khair, and everyone else. So I'm going to be talking about why is it that Prophet Muhammad chose in Medina to be the center of Hijrah, or the place where the Muslims are going to make their Hijrah. And to start off, in Medina is such a special place, mashallah. Like a lot of people that go to Medina to make Umrah, they come back and then we ask them like, oh, which one did you like more, Mecca or Medina? And a lot of people would say Medina. And I want to say that like a part of it could be because of the dua of Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he said, "Allahumma habbib ilayna al-Madina, mahabbata Mecca aw ashad." May Allah, as Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, may Allah make Medina beloved to our hearts as much as or greater than Mecca. And so we all love Medina, but why is it that Medina was chosen? In Medina, whenever we choose a location or a place to live in, we think about two different things: the location itself, but also the community. And when it comes to Medina, the location was exceptional, I want to say. It provided the Muslim community with two very important things. Number one is that the Muslim community would have a influence on all of the trades that are going on between Mecca and Yemen, all the way up to Al-Sham. So you have Medina is located right between Al-Sham and Mecca and Medina. Sorry, Mecca and Yemen. And it's very close to that trading hub. So that gave the Muslims at that time.
Medina between?
In Medina, between, on top, there's Sham,
yes.
and then right underneath it, there's Mecca, and all the way down to so that location itself gave the people of Medina or Yathrib a really great influence. But on the other side, when you look at the geographic location of Medina, you see that it's surrounded by what can be seen as like mountains and also palm trees. Almost from every side of it, with an exception of one side. So let's say like 3 out of 4 sides. And that made it very difficult for anyone from the outside to come and try to like attack the Muslims or attack people of Medina. Yeah. But then on the other hand, when you look at the community or the people of Medina, you notice that they're divided into a couple of groups. The most prominent ones were people of Aus, al-Khazraj, and then there was also a community of Jewish people at that time. The people of Aus al-Khazraj, they've been fighting civil wars forever. And the generations that grew up, they were tired of these wars. They wanted to find something that would unify them. And the only thing that was there that had as much influence was SubhanAllah was Islam. They found in Islam the unity that they needed to kind of like erase and forget and forgive everything that happened in the past. And on the other side, when you look at the Jewish community at that time, they knew and they were expecting the final and last prophet from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Muhammad alayhi salam. So they were expecting something like a prophet to come to them. And all of these factors made it so that when Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam would go and complete the hijrah to in Medina, that would provide the Muslims with a great influence. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah. بارك الله فيك برادر عبدالرحمن. ما شاء الله جزاك الله خير. لكن هل هناك أي أمر من الله جل وعلا للنبي صلى الله عليه وسلم حتى يختار المدينة كدار هجرة؟ Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala order the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to make hijrah أو to make immigration to المدينة؟ Yes, صح؟ يبقى دي نقطة مهمة مش كده ولا إيه؟ يبقى في أمر من الله جل وعلا. النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام قال أريد دار هجرتكم means that the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم saw in his dream the place of immigration. دار الهجرة التي سوف يهاجر إليها النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. هاجر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بعد ذلك إليه. طيب النقطة اللي بعد كده إن شاء الله عز وجل. I think there are a lot of lessons from the immigration of the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم. ولو حبينا يعني if we want to ask anyone from us about the lessons from the immigration, I think we can يعني at least 10 from the lessons of the immigration. ولكن دعونا كده يعني let us ask brother زياد about the lessons of the immigration of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Can you tell us about these lessons, number one, and choose one only, and speak as you can, inshallah. Okay.
وعليكم السلام. So, if we're going to speak about the hijrah, the immigration of Rasul, the main thing we can't miss is planning, right? So, hijrah or immigration, it's a big deal. You're moving from your country to another, well, not from your country, from your city to a different city. You basically don't know anyone, you don't have anywhere to live, you don't have a job, so it's a pretty big deal. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to this since we are in the United States. So yeah, Islam teaches us that you have to plan your moves. If you want to achieve your goals, you need to know what you're doing. You need to know what your next step is. You need to know what kind of plan you have. So you can't go about your life with impulsivity, thinking that everything's just going to work out for you just because, like with such entitlement. It doesn't make sense. And I feel like some people get confused about the concept of tawakkul ala Allah, or trusting Allah, in that they start hoping for things instead of taking action and taking actual steps in their life. They're like, okay, I want to have a lot of money. Okay, what exactly are you doing to achieve that? Well, I'm hoping for it. So, not really doing much, so that's not going to get you anywhere. So it's very important to have a plan and to break it down into steps and to make sure those steps align with your goal at the end. So Prophet ﷺ, when it was time to make hijrah, he took a few steps to make sure that it's going to go as smoothly as possible, and he would achieve his end goal, which is basically making Medina or Yathrib basically the city where Islam is going to have a country. So, first of all, when the Prophet ﷺ knew that he was going to make hijrah to Medina, first of all, he knew he needed a companion. So he first had to find a team to help him achieve what he wanted, which is successfully migrating to Medina. So first of all, he went to Abu Bakr Siddiq, his companion, and he made sure to basically prepare the means for them to safely achieve their goal. So Abu Bakr would prepare the 2 camels and the whole story. Another thing that Prophet ﷺ made sure to do is, well, he had his enemies in Mecca. So in order for him to safely move to Medina, he needed some kind of trick. He needed to make sure no one stops him, no one tries to kill him on the way, anything like that. So he took a few steps to make sure that does not happen. So the first thing, he made Ali ibn Abi Talib basically sleep in his bed and pretend to be him, in order for the non-believers to not notice that there's something wrong, or that the Prophet ﷺ is going to be traveling or basically escaping out of Mecca that night. The other thing was that on the way, the Prophet ﷺ made sure to take an unusual route. There's a normal, from Mecca to Medina, there is a way that's the shortest and that's the best route to go, and everyone uses it. So he decided to take a different, longer route in order to make sure they are safe. Because once the non-believers found out that he was moving to Medina, they were like, okay, we're going to just stop him on the way and get done with this whole thing. So he took a different way, and that was another step in the plan. There are many other steps. I would like to also mention one more in the plan, which was using spies. He actually commanded or asked the son of Abu Bakr his name was Abdullah ibn Abi Bakr, who's basically, his role was to become a spy and stay in Mecca and make sure he can oversee, basically not oversee, spy on what the non-believers are doing, to make sure he can deliver all this information and the news to the Prophet ﷺ on the way, so that they can make sure they don't get caught or stay safe. So those are a few steps in the plan. So I would like to go back to the idea of that Islam always pushes us to have a plan and to make sure we are taking the right steps to achieving our goals. So, for example, a random goal, if you want to pray Fajr on time, right? You can't be hoping to magically wake up at 5 a.m. randomly when you wake up every day at 10 a.m. and suddenly be able to pray Fajr. It's not going to happen. There's no way. I've tried. So, So, you have to actually have a schedule. You have to sleep early, you have to have an alarm, you have to know what you're doing. You need a plan and you need steps. So, if you're just hoping, that's nonsense. you're not getting nowhere. So as Muslims, you need to have a plan. And in life too, like for example, if someone wants to become a doctor or an engineer, they need to have a plan of what they're doing. They can't be like, when I grow up, I want to be an engineer. Okay, that's what the kids say. But when you're like 17 or 18, you need to have a plan, right? You're not a child anymore. You need to be like, okay, I'm going to apply to this school, and I'm going to make sure I keep on top of everything so that I can graduate, and then I can have a job as an engineer, or I can apply to med school, or whatever the case may be. So you need to have a plan. The bottom line is, without a plan, I don't think anything's going to happen. So, just being honest, be true to yourself. If you have goals, you need to have a plan. You need to have your steps written down somewhere, and you need to start taking action.
ما شاء الله ما شاء الله. Brother زياد إن شاء الله عز وجل I will see him tomorrow صلاة الفجر إن شاء الله عز وجل. If you know, خلاص it's okay إن شاء الله عز وجل. ربنا يبارك فيك يا رب. If you don't have any plan, some people will plan for you. يا متى يكون عندك خطة، يا متى غيرك هو اللي يعمل لك الخطة بتاعتك. If you don't have any goals, the people will make you as a goal for him. يا متى يكون عندك هدف، يا الناس هي تعمل لك انت هدف من الاهداف بتاعتك. طيب يعني الشباب جزاهم الله كل خير. But before we إن شاء الله عز وجل finish this lecture, if anyone from you إن شاء الله عز وجل have any lessons from the immigration of the Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم، ممكن يعني حد لو عايز لنا كده أي درس. We wanted to add some lessons after the lesson of the brother زياد. حد ممكن يقول لنا أي درس؟ تفضل برادر يوسف.
ممكن تكون في إضافة لزياد بس.
لزياد بس يس.
يعني اللي هو
علي صوتك.
اللي هو يعني على الفجر وكده.
هو
حد يصاحبه ويرن عليه صاحبه.
يشوف حد يصاحبه.
يكلمه هو شخصيا.
يس.
دي نعم.
طيب لو حبيت تكلمه شخصيا before to speak يعني for him. Can you look up him? Yeah, you can do that. جزاك الله خير. I think يعني he love you. It's okay. جزاك الله خير برادر يوسف. طيب ده listen to for brother زياد. ها؟ ما انت بس انت بتبقى عندك في الشغل. على فكرة you have a good chance يعني for that انك تصحي الشباب واللي حواليك ان شاء الله عز وجل تاخذ الثواب بتاعهم ان شاء الله. طيب ياسين do you have anything؟ خالص يعني good idea. The girls do you have anything؟ خديجة do you have anything؟ okay. طيب جزاكم الله خيرا. تقبل الله جل وعلا منا ومنكم. اسال الله سبحانه وتعالى باسمائه الحسنى وصفاته العلى وحدانيته ان يتقبل منا ومنكم، ان يغفر لنا ولكم، وان يجعل اعمالنا كلها خالصه لوجهه الكريم. جزاكم الله خيرا والسلام عليكم ورحمه الله وبركاته.